Hello, friends. I'm a storyteller. I know you're here to escape the chaos of the world and drift into a peaceful night. But tonight's stories, they're not just here to calm your mind. They're here to pull you into a deeper, darker place. Relax, find your coziest spot, and close your eyes. Let the sound of the rain wash away the weight of your day. Please, subscribe and comment below. Where are you watching from? Your country? And what time are you watching this video? Why? Because these stories are woven just for you. Now, let's start. Story 1. The Auction of Nightmares. Buying and selling. Fear, did you hear a man scream from an empty theater? Tyler will learn that the ticket he holds is not for a show, but for something waiting behind him. Tyler sits alone. His seat creaks when the theater is dark and too dark. He looks around, no one else is here and only him and his ticket. Number 43. He checks his phone. No service and no Wi-Fi. Nothing works. He whispers, "Is this part of the show?" But there is no reply. Only silence. And that cold feeling on his neck. Slow breath. He feels watched, but he sees no one. A light flashes on stage. One spotlight. A man stands there. His face is covered, loudly. "Welcome to the Auction of Nightmares." Tyler freezes, whispers, "Auction," he says. The man nods. "You don't buy items here." The man says, "You buy fear." The stage turns red. A curtain opens. A glass box rises. Inside, a girl screams. She looks real. Too real. A deep voice echoes. Memory number 1. The drowning at Lake Howard. People appear in the seats around Tyler. He didn't see them come in. They wear masks. One of them raises a hand. 5,000, she says. Another shouts, 10,000. The girl screams louder. Her hands bang the glass. Water fills the box. Tyler stands. "I don't want this," he says. A hand grabs his shoulder. A man in black whispers, "Sit down." Number 43. His voice is calm. Too calm. Whispers, "The show has just begun." Ticking clock. Tyler sits again. He can't move. His legs feel numb. The lights dim. The girl in the box stops screaming. She floats. Everyone claps. The box sinks. "Sold." The man on stage shouts. Tyler feels sick. He looks at his ticket. Admit 1. It says. And under that, donor. "What does donor mean?" he asks. No one answers. Only silence. Again, a new box rises. A boy. Eyes wide, he cries. A new voice. Memory. Number 2. The basement incident in Clear Hollow. Tyler leans forward. He knows that town. "I lived there," he whispers. The boy's voice echoes. "Dad, please don't lock me in again." Tyler's eyes go wide. "That's me." He stands. "No, that's my memory." The man in black grabs him again. "Sit down." Number 43. Tyler shouts, "You stole my memory." "No." The man said, "Mom, you sold it." Repeated phrase 1. Tyler breathes fast. His voice shakes. "I want to wake up. I want to wake up." But he's not sleeping. This is real, or something like it. Another bid. 20,000. 45. Sold. The boy, young Tyler, disappears. The audience claps again. They enjoy this. Tyler doesn't. His hands shake. He checks the back of the ticket. Tiny text glows. Auction entry. One night. Only. No refunds. A whisper comes from his right. Did you think this was free? It's a woman's voice. Her mask is silver. You signed up, she says. You clicked the terms. He remembers. That email. That dream auction ad, he thought it was fake. It wasn't. The man on stage raises his hand. Now, a special lot. The room darkens more. A spotlight shines on Tyler. He freezes. What? The man smiles. Number 43 is now on the block. No! Tyler shouts. I'm not a memory. But they don't care. Screens drop from the ceiling. They show him, sleeping, crying, screaming, his worst nights. One masked man stands. I'll give everything I have. Me too, says a woman in gold. Bids rise. Voices echo. The floor under Tyler glows red. He screams, repeated phrase 2. I want to wake up. I want to wake up. But the auctioneer laughs. No one wakes up, he says. Not until it's over. Suddenly, silence. The screen goes black. The theater vanishes. Tyler wakes up in his bed, breath fast, face wet. He checks his phone. 1:43 a.m. He laughs. Just a dream, right? But on his desk, a ticket. Number 43, still warm. He's awake. Or he thinks he is. The room feels wrong. Still. Frozen. Too quiet. Tyler rubs his eyes. He's in bed. But the sheets aren't his. The blanket smells old. The walls, they're stone. He sits up. Wooden panels. A candle flickers in the corner. His phone is gone. No window. He hears it. The whispering. So soft. It moves across the stone like smoke. Whispers. He's still alive. Number 43. A knock on the door. Then another. Then another. 3 slow knocks. He stands. His legs shake. He walks toward the door. It opens before he touches it. Darkness. But something moves in it. A figure steps forward. Tall. Pale. Gray hood. In his hand. A book. Bound in leather. Breathing. You must read. The figure says. Voice dry. Like sand scraping glass. Your next memory must be opened. Tyler steps back. No more memories, please. But the book opens. Pages turn on their own. Then stop. A photo. Blurry. But familiar. A house. His grandmother's house. The basement door. I was 9, he whispers. She said never to go down there. The candle dies. Dark. Suddenly, he's there. In the photo. The air is cold. The basement smells like metal and wet wood. He hears a girl crying. But he never had a sister. He steps down. Each stair creaks. Each one feels like it could collapse. The crying gets louder. A shape in the dark. A girl in white. Her face. Wrong. Blurred. Shifting. She turns. Play with me, she says. Her voice, like 2 people speaking at once. Tyler backs away, but she crawls toward him. Too fast. He runs up the stairs, slams the door, locks it, breathing hard. He's back in the stone room. Book, gone. Figure, gone. But something new is in the room. A mask. Silver. Cold. His reflection blinks, but he doesn't. He hears a hum. Low. Metallic. Then voices. He turns. A screen on the wall lights up. It shows a theater. The same one, but he's not there anymore. Masked bidders fill the seats. The auctioneer steps forward. We have retrieved more than expected tonight, he says. Thanks to number 43. The crowd claps. Tyler watches, frozen. The screen shows his nightmares, one by one. He sees himself, drowning, screaming, digging, running. Barefoot on ice, and they bid, they cheer, and they enjoy this. He slams the screen. It shatters, sparks fly. The room shakes. A voice from the wall screams, "Do not resist your sail." Suddenly, a panel in the floor opens. Stairs. Down. He hesitates, then steps in. The descent is long, twisting. Wood groans under each step. He hears whispers, louder now. They say his name, but he never told them his name. He reaches the bottom. Another room. Huge. Round. Candles line the floor. And in the center, a man tied to a chair. Tyler steps closer. The man lifts his head. It's him. Older. Tired. Eyes full of fear. "What is this?" Tyler whispers. The older Tyler speaks. "You're still early. You still have hope." "I don't." Tyler trembles. "They kept bidding, until I had nothing left." Whispers. "I want to wake up. I want to wake up." The older Tyler shakes his head. "Some of us don't wake up. We just get sold in parts." He looks up. "You still have your voice." They'll take it next. A gong echoes and the ceiling splits open, chains drop, the bidders descend, not walking. They float. Masks shimmer. Some melt. Some stretch. They chant numbers. 43. 43. One leans in. A woman with no eyes. How much for his silence? Tyler backs away, but there's nowhere to go. The walls, flesh, beating, alive. He covers his ears, still hears them. How much for his guilt? His screams, his last real smile. Suddenly, a crack, a tear in the air, like a screen ripping. Light pours through. Cool, blue, like morning. He runs toward it. Someone grabs his ankle. Older Tyler. "If you go, don't come back. Ever." Tyler nods, pulls free. He leaps. He lands on grass. Real, green, wet. It's dawn. Birds sing. Wind moves the trees. He's in a park. Back home. Free. He laughs. He sobs. Then, he hears it. Clap. Just one. He turns. A man in a suit. The auctioneer. Holding a clipboard. "Escaping is popular," he says, "but very temporary." He hands Tyler a paper. It reads, "Repossessed. Lot 43. Failed return. Next retrieval. Soon." Repeated phrase. Tyler whispers, "I want to wake up. I want to wake up." The auctioneer vanishes, but the paper stays, and it's signed, in Tyler's handwriting. He signed his own sentence. Now Tyler must pay for memories that weren't even his to begin with. He tries to throw it away. The paper. Repossessed, lot 43. But it sticks to his hand, like it's made of static. Tyler runs. Through the park, through the street, past early joggers and sleepy dogs. No one sees it. The paper, or the numbers glowing faintly on his skin. 43, etched under his wrist, like a barcode. He rushes home, slams the door, bolts it, throws the paper in the fireplace. But it won't burn. It only curls and whispers. Next retrieval. Soon. He hides in the shower, turns the water up, but even the steam feels like finger. And the whispering, it comes from the drain. How do you want to be remembered? He shuts off the water, dresses in silence, walks to his mirror. There's a post-it stuck to the glass. He didn't write it. You remember us. We remember you. Come watch the others. He checks his phone. No missed calls. No Wi-Fi. No signal. Just one app. New. Not downloaded. Bidline XE. He doesn't open it. Not yet. He wraps his phone in foil, puts it in the freezer. Hopes that matters that night. He dreams of chairs. Rows and rows of them. Each one filled with someone wearing a different mask. Some faces smile. Others melt. A few just weep. They chant. Number 43. Number 43. A spotlight turns. It lands on him. Tyler. Naked. Shivering. Hands tied behind his back. And above him, a screen. It plays his memories, but they're not his. Children crying in a burning house. A man alone in a flooded elevator. A woman opening a door that leads to nowhere. The audience claps, cheers, raises paddles. 3,000 screams. 5 regrets and a tear. Sold for silence. He wakes screaming, soaked in sweat. His pillow torn in half. He grabs his phone. Still cold. Still wrapped. He opens it. Can't help himself. The app is already running. Bidline XE. Auction in progress. Viewer, access granted. Lot 44. Young woman's hope. He sees her. On the screen, a girl. Alone in her room. Crying. Typing on her phone. Tyler leans closer. She's real. He can see the brand on her hoodie. The scratch on her nightstand. The clock behind her. 2:11 a.m. And then, the bidding starts. He watches as strangers bid on parts of her. Not her body. Her joy. Her peace. Her sense of self. I'll take her future. I want her laughter. Sold to Mask 17 for all her sleep. Tyler slams the phone down. The screen goes black, but the voice lingers. Next auction in, 3 minutes. He gets in his car, drives. No destination, just away from everything. Billboards blur past. His fingers tremble on the wheel. He stops at a gas station, goes inside, washes his face. The mirror flickers. He doesn't see himself. He sees a crowd. The masked bidders. Watching, clapping, waiting. He runs out, forgets to pump gas, drives again, keeps driving until the sun rises. Then the radio turns on its own, and it's not music. It's voices, not a DJ. A girl sobbing, a man screaming, a child laughing, and laughing, and laughing. Then a calm voice says, "Next auction, lot 45, memory of a murder never committed." He swerves, parks, gets out, kneels in a field. He screams into the dirt, but the earth doesn't answer, only echoes. 43, 43, 43. He drives home, windows up, music off. The house is dark, too dark, even the lights won't work. He lights candles and curls up on the floor. He holds the paper again, reads it. Every word. It now says, "Final auction tonight at 3:33 a.m. Mandatory appearance." He checks the clock. 3:02. His breath shortens. He stands, and the wall melts. Literally. Drips down like wax. Behind it, a theater door carved in gold, labeled Private Viewing 43. He steps through. Instant cold. Seats stretch into forever. He's alone, but not really. They're watching. Somewhere. He sits. The lights dim. The stage glows, and he walks onto it. No control, no will. Like a puppet. He stands center stage. A spotlight locks on him. Then the screen shows. A memory he never had. He's holding a knife. Standing over someone. shaking. A woman cries. Blood on her hands, he says. I didn't mean to. The audience gasps. Someone bids. Then another. But he screams. That's not me, I never did this. The crowd laughs. Doesn't matter. You remember it now. That's all we need. The auctioneer rises, walks to him. You're doing very well, Tyler. He shivers. Why me? The man tilts his head. You signed up. No, I never... Oh, but you did. You clicked accept. On a site you don't remember visiting. Tyler stares in horror. Please, he says. Take it back. The auctioneer smiles. We don't take things back, only forward. He gestures. The crowd roars. Chains rise. From the floor. From the walls. But then, a voice. Familiar. His grandmother's voice. Not this one. He remembers love. Everything stops. The chains freeze. The spotlight flickers and the crowd grows quiet. And Tyler blinks. He's in his bed. For real. Sunlight pours in. Birds chirp. His phone buzzes. No app. Just a text. From a number he doesn't know. Auction rescheduled. You got lucky. But we'll see you again. He throws the phone. Goes outside. Walks barefoot on the grass. Feels real. Feels warm. Feels safe. For now. But in the sky, a drone floats. And on its screen, the number 44 is blinking. He escaped the theater. But the auction never ends. Not for lot 43. He thought he escaped. But the auction house never really lets go. Tyler doesn't sleep anymore. He lies still, eyes open, but dreams still come, even with no sleep. Even when awake, he moves to a different city, changes his name, gets rid of his phone, starts over. New apartment, no tech, just books, candles, quiet. At first, it works. No voices, no shadows, no dreams for 7 days. Then, on the 8th day, he finds it. A card. On his pillow. Lot 43. Pending recall. He burns it. Watches it vanish in smoke. But the smoke doesn't rise. It drips. Like ink. Onto the floor, forming words. The auction remembers you. Tyler runs. Again. This time to a cabin in the woods. No signal, no power, no chance. He thinks it'll keep them out. But they were never outside to begin with. On the 3rd night, in the cabin, he wakes to the sound of typing. Old keys. Clack, clack, clack. But there's no computer here. Only a dusty typewriter in the corner. He never touched it. But now, it's glowing. Pages sliding out. One by one, he walks closer. The paper says, new inventory, ready for collection. Then it lists, memory of joy at age 6 claimed, trust in romantic love deducted, ability to hear his mother's voice withdrawn, belief in safe places sold. Tyler rips the pages out, burns them, screams, but then he forgets what he was screaming about. He sits, blank, like a window with no glass. Something is leaking out of him, not blood. Memory. Every moment feels distant, like watching his own life from across the street. He looks in the mirror and doesn't recognize himself. On the 4th night, he hears the auction again, this time in his own voice, calling bids, smiling, welcoming new guests. But it's not him, it's something using his mouth, inside his skin, and every time he tries to speak, the voice laughs. You're not the host, you're the product. Desperate, he tries one last thing. He hikes, deep into the forest. No No map. No plan. Just away. Until the trees start changing. They look real at first. But then, they start bending, backward, like old film melting. And the leaves whisper. 43. 43. He stumbles on a clearing. At the center, a man in a black coat, sitting at a table made of bones. He looks up, no eyes, just empty sockets. And still, he sees. "Are you here to trade?" the man asks. Tyler says nothing. He doesn't know what that means. The man points to a chair. "Sit, if you're ready. But once we begin, you don't get to leave as yourself." Tyler hesitates. Then he sits. Because what's left of him anyway. The man opens a book. Black leather. Pages stitched from skin. On them, memories. Not just Tyler's. Everyone's. Your first heartbreak. Your worst fear. Your last peaceful sleep. There, all for sale, all owned, all indexed, the man says. "You've been stolen from... We can fix that." Tyler leans forward. "How?" "Buy yourself back." "With what?" Tyler asks. The man smiles. "Pain. Yours or borrowed." A drawer opens. A vial is placed on the table. It glows red. "Someone else is suffering," the man says. "Will you use it?" Tyler hesitates. "Who's it from?" "A girl. Lot 44. Tyler stares at the vial. He remembers her. From the auction. The hoodie. The 2:11 a.m. clock. He shakes his head. "I can't." The man nods. "Good. You remember. That's enough for now." The table vanishes. The man too. Tyler is alone again. But something's different. He feels one memory return. His father's voice. Telling a story. A safe story. About stars. And time. And how dreams are the windows between worlds. Tyler cries. Because he hadn't remembered that in years. But that night, the theater returns. Not in dreams, but through the window. Literally. His cabin's front window stretches, folds, into velvet curtains, and then beyond them, an audience waiting. He backs away, but a spotlight finds him, and a screen lights up. Tonight's feature, the one who wouldn't bid. The audience boos, throws programs, shouts, freeloader, thief of pain, broke the circle. Then a curtain opens, and a copy of Tyler steps out, smiling. Perfect. Hollow. It speaks. Since the original won't cooperate, I'll perform instead. The show begins, and Tyler is forced to watch. His double reenacts things that never happened. Murders, lies, cruelty. The audience loves it. They bid more than ever, and every bid burns Tyler. Physically, he screams, feels his nerves fry, his lungs ache, but no one helps, because they're all masked. Some of them, familiar, a co-worker, a teacher, a friend he trusted, even his ex. They all clap. Then a new face appears, the girl from Lot 44. She walks on stage, not bidding, but watching, quietly. Then she speaks. "Let him go." The theater trembles. Lights flicker. The copy of Tyler panics, melts, screams, begins to disintegrate. The girl walks over, takes Tyler's hand. "You remembered me. That matters." Then, everything goes white. He wakes, in a hospital. A nurse leans over. "You've been out for 3 days." He whispers, "Where am I?" She smiles. "You're safe. You're free." But when she turns around, Her reflection in the window, wears a mask, and on the bedside table is a card. Just 2 words. Next bid. Because once you're on the list, there is no last chapter. Only new lot and more eager bidders. Story 2. The Forbidden Channel. Unraveling the dark broadcast. Have you ever stumbled upon a TV channel that shouldn't exist? Ethan did. And what he found will haunt his nights forever. Ethan was just like anyone else. Curious. Restless. Always scrolling late at night. That night, his fingers moved automatically over the remote, changing channels, flipping through familiar shows, reruns, commercials. Then something odd caught his eye. A blank channel. No number. No name. Just static, flickering softly on the edge of the screen. He blinked. Must be a glitch, he thought. But curiosity nudged him to press OK. The screen changed. Not to a show, not to a movie, but to darkness. A dark hallway stretched before him. Faint lights flickered at the edges. Shapes moved just out of clear sight. Whispers floated across the screen. Watch or never sleep again. The voice was soft, hypnotic. A sound that crawled into Ethan's mind like cold water. He tried to turn away, but the remote didn't work. The button pressed, but nothing happened. The channel was stuck. Ethan's pulse quickened. The room grew colder. Outside, the usual city sounds faded into silence. Inside, the TV screen pulsed. A shadowy figure appeared in the hallway. Tall, thin, masked. No eyes. Just darkness, where the eyes should be. The figure moved closer. "Welcome to the Forbidden Channel," it whispered. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. He wanted to turn the TV off, but he couldn't. The channel owned him. It pulled him deeper. The screen showed a door, a familiar door. His childhood basement door, the one his grandmother warned him never to open. Suddenly, Ethan was no longer in his living room. He was standing in that same hallway. Cold air pressed against his skin. The darkness pressed in. A voice echoed. "Welcome back." He tried to move. His legs wouldn't obey. Then footsteps, slow, heavy, coming closer. A hand grabbed his shoulder, cold as ice. "Stay." The voice was inside his head now. "Stay and see the truth." Ethan turned. The masked figure smiled. Only its mouth was real. A wide grin filled with sharp, gleaming teeth. "Who are you?" Ethan whispered. "We are the Watchers," it said. "Your fears, your secrets, we show the world." The screen behind it flashed. Faces, watching, waiting, hungry. Ethan's heart pounded. He forced his legs to move. He ran toward the door. But the hallway stretched longer. No escape. The channel wanted him. Images flashed on the screen. A family dinner, a hidden lie, a secret shame. The channel showed everything, every fear, every moment Ethan wished forgotten. He wanted to look away, but he couldn't. The Watchers laughed, softly, cruelly. "Welcome to the Forbidden Channel." The screen went black. Ethan whispered, "I want to turn it off. I want to turn it off." Time passed. Or maybe it didn't. He wasn't sure anymore. The darkness became a prison. Memories flooded his mind, not his own. Visions of strangers, their fears, their nightmares. Faces without names, screaming silently, trapped, watching, waiting. Ethan tried to scream, then no sound came out. His voice was gone. The channel had stolen it. The screen flickered again. New images, more secrets. A child crying alone, a man breaking, a woman disappearing. All trapped in this endless broadcast. The Watchers watched him, and the viewers watched the Watchers. An endless loop of terror. Ethan's mind frayed. But then, a flicker of hope. A crack in the darkness was a soft blue light. The screen showed a new door. Not his childhood basement, a door to freedom, or another trap. He reached for it. The screen hissed. "Don't trust the light," the voice warned. "Stay with us." Ethan's hand trembled. His heart screamed to run, but his body was frozen. The channel was alive, and it wanted to keep him forever. And then, the TV screen exploded in static. The room was silent again. Ethan gasped for air. His living room was back. The TV was off. But something was wrong. His remote was missing, and on the coffee table lay a note, written in his handwriting. "You're already part of the broadcast." Ethan's whisper echoed. "I want to turn it off. I want to turn it off." When Ethan woke up the next morning, the memory of the forbidden channel felt like a strange dream. Yet a way the cold sweat on his forehead told him otherwise. It wasn't a dream. It was real. He stared at his TV. The screen, black and silent. The remote was still missing, just as he'd found it the night before. The note he'd seen, gone. Had he imagined it? But deep inside, Ethan knew it was no hallucination. The forbidden channel had reached into his life, and it wasn't done yet. The day went by in a blur. Ethan tried to focus on his work, on friends, on normal things. But something felt off. The shadows in his apartment seemed longer, darker, the air heavier. At night, he dared to turn on the TV again. His fingers hesitated before pressing the power button, but the screen stayed black. No static, no channel, nothing. Relief. But relief didn't last long. Then his phone buzzed. A message. No number, no name, just a link. Watch. Ethan's breath caught. His curiosity won. He clicked the link. The screen filled with static. Then the forbidden channel returned. This time, the hallway was different, wider, darker, more alive. The whispers returned, soft and insistent. Watch, or never sleep. Ethan's heart pounded. He felt a cold finger trace down his spine. On the screen, the masked figure appeared again. "Welcome back, Ethan." The voice was no longer a whisper, but a cruel echo that bounced inside his head. "You thought you could escape?" Ethan swallowed hard. "No." The figure smiled, wide and terrible. "Good." The screen shifted. Now Ethan saw faces. His family, friends, strangers, all watching. Eyes hungry for secrets, for pain. Then the broadcast showed Ethan himself. Not the Ethan in the real world, but the Ethan inside this dark world. He saw his fears, his mistakes, his regrets laid bare like open wounds. The viewers gasped. The watchers laughed. Ethan wanted to scream, but his voice was gone. He was trapped in this nightmare broadcast. And worse, the channel was spreading, from his phone to his computer, to every device around him. No escape. Ethan's world was closing in, but then, a sudden flicker. A new image appeared on the screen. Someone else. A girl. Young. Fearful. Her eyes met Ethan's through the screen. "Help me," she whispered. The voice was real. Desperate. Ethan wanted to reach out, to touch the screen, to save her. But the screen cracked, and the image shattered. The forbidden channel was not just a trap for Ethan. It was a prison for many. Souls caught in its dark web. Ethan knew he had to find a way out, or he would be lost forever. The next days passed in a blur. Ethan researched everything he could find about the forbidden channel. Nothing in public records, no forums, no warnings. Only a few scattered rumors whispered on dark corners of the internet. Some called it a cursed broadcast. Others, a digital ghost, but no one knew where it came from or how to stop it. One night, as Ethan sat staring at his lifeless TV, a message appeared on his computer screen. You seek answers, find the source, or become part of the broadcast. The cursor blinked, waiting. Ethan typed back, trembling, where? The reply was immediate, a place forgotten by time, a channel buried deep. Look beyond the static. The screen went black. Ethan felt a pull, a silent command to keep watching. He wasn't just a viewer anymore. He was part of the broadcast's twisted game. In the following nights, Ethan found himself drawn deeper into the channel. Each time, new horrors unfolded. Rooms that shifted and changed. Voices that whispered his darkest thoughts. Visions of people lost, screaming silently in endless loops. The watchers, ever present, never blinking. Ethan felt himself slipping away. But amid the terror, a strange clarity emerged. He realized the channel fed on fear, on secrets kept hidden, on pain buried deep. If he could face the truth, maybe, just maybe, he could break free. One night, Ethan sat before the screen, steadying his breath. The channel flickered, and the hallway appeared. This time, no shadows moved, no whispers, just silence. The door at the end stood open, light spilling out. Ethan took a step forward, then another, his heartbeat steady, his hands calm. He reached the door. Inside was a room, empty. But on the wall, a message appeared, written in flickering light. Face your fears. Ethan closed his eyes. He remembered the moments he wanted to forget, the times he hurt those he loved, the times he was weak, the times he ran away. With each memory, the room brightened, the watchers faded, the shadows dissolved. Ethan opened his eyes. He was alone. The channel was gone, but just as relief washed over him, a soft whisper echoed. We are always watching. Ethan's eyes snapped open. His living room was dark, the TV off, the remote back in his hand. But something had changed. The forbidden channel was no longer just a broadcast. It was a part of him, and the darkness was waiting. Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that the forbidden channel had invaded not just his devices, but his mind. Each time he closed his eyes, the flickering static haunted him, a silent reminder that somewhere, in the darkest corners of the digital world, the broadcast was still alive. He tried to convince himself it was over. The last night, when the shadows vanished and the light spilled from that open door, was proof. He had faced his fears, exposed his darkest truths, and the channel had let him go. But that whisper lingered. We are always watching. The next morning, Ethan awoke to a new reality. His phone buzzed constantly, but not with normal notifications. Messages from unknown numbers, encrypted texts, and distorted audio clips filled his inbox. One message stood out among the rest. You escaped the room, but the signal is stronger now. His pulse quickened. The forbidden channel was evolving. Not just a haunted broadcast anymore. It was a living entity, at work. Ethan tried to focus. His colleagues noticed his distracted state. Sarah, his closest friend, finally confronted him. Ethan, you look terrible. You haven't slept, and you keep checking your phone like you're waiting for something terrible. He hesitated but decided to confide in her. There's this channel, a secret broadcast. It shows things that aren't meant to be seen. It's like it knows me. Sarah frowned, skepticism clear in her eyes. That sounds like a bad horror movie. Ethan, I wish it was, he whispered. That night, Ethan's apartment was darker than usual. The windows shuttered, curtains drawn tight. He sat before his TV, waiting. The forbidden channel didn't appear immediately. Instead, static buzzed softly, a low, eerie hum that seemed to vibrate through the walls. Suddenly, the screen flickered to life. This time, the broadcast showed a swirling vortex of shadows, twisting and turning like a living nightmare. From the depths of the static, the masked figure emerged again, but it was different now. No longer a mere silhouette. It was closer, clearer. Its eyes glowed red beneath the mask. "Ethan," the figure spoke, voice distorted but unmistakable. "The signal binds us. You are part of it now. There is no escape." Ethan's breath caught in his throat. "What do you want from me?" he demanded, voice trembling. "To serve, to carry the message, to spread the broadcast." The screen shifted. Now Ethan saw his city. Empty streets, flickering streetlights. A silence so profound it felt like the world itself was holding its breath. Then glimpses of people appeared, watching screens, watching phones, watching TVs, all hooked to the forbidden channel, like a virus, spreading unnoticed. Ethan realized the broadcast wasn't just a curse for him. It was infecting everyone. And the more it spread, the stronger it became. Desperation clawed at Ethan's mind. He needed answers. The next day, he reached out to a hacker he'd heard about online, someone who claimed to track digital hauntings and unexplained broadcasts. Her name was Mira. They agreed to meet in a dimly lit cafe on the outskirts of the city. Mira was nothing like Ethan expected. Small, sharp-eyed, with hands that moved fast over a laptop keyboard. She listened carefully as Ethan explained everything. When he finished, she nodded slowly. "The forbidden channel. I've heard whispers, but no one has ever gotten this deep." She pulled out a USB drive, sliding it across the table. "This is a program I developed. It can trace the broadcast signal, but it's risky. The deeper you go, the more the broadcast fights back." Ethan swallowed hard. "I have to try." Back in his apartment, Ethan connected the program to his computer. The screen filled with lines of code and waves of data flowing like digital currents. He watched as the program traced the forbidden channel signal through layers of the internet, deeper and deeper into hidden servers and forgotten networks. Suddenly, the screen flashed red. "Warning. Signal interference detected." Static surged violently. The masked figure's voice echoed through the speakers. "You cannot hide, Ethan." The computer screen went black. Then, a new image appeared. The girl from before, the one trapped in the broadcast, her eyes wide with fear. "Help me," she whispered again. But this time, her voice was fading. Ethan reached out to touch the screen, but it was cold, lifeless. A cold dread settled over him. She was slipping away, determined. Ethan plunged further into the digital abyss. The program led him to a hidden server, a forgotten place buried beneath layers of firewalls and encryption. Inside, a dark broadcast played on an endless loop. Faces of the lost, voices of the trapped. Ethan realized this was the source, the prison, the heart of the forbidden channel. But as he tried to pull the signal apart, a sudden jolt rocked his apartment. The lights flickered, the air turned icy cold, and the masked figure appeared beside him, not on the screen, but standing in the room. Ethan's heart stopped. The figure spoke, voice low and threatening. "You have no right to interfere." Ethan backed away, searching for an escape. But the figure's hand reached out and brushing his shoulder, cold, like death. In that instant, Ethan understood. The forbidden channel was not just digital. It was real. It was alive. And it was hunting him. The next moments were a blur. Ethan grabbed his laptop and fled into the night. He didn't know where he was going, only that he had to survive. The broadcast was no longer confined to screens. It was inside him. A signal that bound him. A darkness that wouldn't let go. Hours later, Ethan found himself in an abandoned building, a place Mira had told him about. "Safe," she said quietly. "For now." Together, they planned their next move. Ethan knew the only way to end the nightmare was to destroy the source, but doing so meant diving deeper into the forbidden channel than ever before, into the darkest corners of the broadcast, where no one had survived. I hadn't slept in days. Time stopped making sense once I crossed into the realm of the signal. My body ached, my head throbbed, and my memories started slipping through the cracks, like they belonged to someone else. Mira and I hid in that abandoned warehouse for 48 hours straight. The place was silent, except for the soft buzzing from her hacked signal reader and the faint hum that never left my ears. The forbidden channel. It was still watching. It never stopped. Even when I wasn't connected to a screen, I could feel its pulse, like a heartbeat. Under my skin, it was no longer just a channel. It had become a parasite, something that lived inside me, something I couldn't turn off. Mira studied me like a scientist watching a dying star. Her eyes rarely blinked. Her fingers typed fast. Her voice hushed. "There's no firewall, Ethan," she said, quietly. "No antivirus, no code, nothing stops it. This isn't a broadcast, it's a possession." I didn't respond. I couldn't. My mouth was dry. My thoughts felt like static. She kept going. "But there's a way in. A back door hidden deep in the signal. If we can reach it, we might be able to destroy the loop, break the core transmission. What happens if we fail?" I whispered. Mira's eyes met mine. "Then the channel keeps spreading. And you disappear into it." We set up everything that night. The last trace route. The deepest connection. A direct link into the forbidden channel's heart. Mira loaded the final command. The screen flashed once, then again, before fading into black. A white blinking cursor appeared. Then words typed themselves slowly, as if written by an unseen hand. "You are ready to see." The world vanished. I didn't black out. I fell through light and color and sound into a dimension that felt like it had no floor, no ceiling, no time. My body wasn't mine anymore. I floated. I saw faces all around me, twisting, stretching, glitching. People trapped in digital echoes, looped in their own horror shows. Some screamed with no sound. Others watched, eyes hollow, as their worst fears played endlessly on broken screens. Then I saw her again, the girl from the broadcast. Her name was Alyssa. She wasn't an illusion. She was real. Her eyes locked onto mine. "Don't leave me here," she mouthed, even though I couldn't hear anything in this void. I reached out, and suddenly, I was in a room. It was the same dark room I had seen in the first episode of the Forbidden Channel. The floor was wet. The ceiling buzzed. There was only one door, barely visible through the flickering light. A TV sat in the middle, and on it, I saw myself, sitting exactly where I was, staring into the screen, pale and trembling. I blinked, and then, I was watching you. Yes, you. I could see someone else, outside this nightmare, watching my story unfold. That's when I realized the broadcast wasn't about the watchers, it was about the watched. I moved toward the TV, my fingers trembling. Static cracked as I touched the screen. Pain shot through my hand, sharp, electric. I fell backward. The masked figure appeared again, but now there were hundreds of them, clones, identical, silent. They surrounded the room, inching closer. All of them whispered one word, over and over. Transmit. 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 I wanted to scream, but nothing came out. The TV exploded in a burst of noise and color. The shards floated in slow motion, each one showing a different face, a different scream, a different trapped soul. Then I saw my own reflection, again, and it was smiling, not me and something wearing me. Mira's voice broke through the noise. "Ethan, I'm pulling you back. Hang on." I opened my eyes and gasped for air. I was back in the warehouse, drenched in sweat, eyes wide. Mira held me steady, shaking me. "You were gone for 9 minutes," she whispered. "But your heart stopped for 12 seconds. I almost lost you." I looked at her and said the only thing that mattered. I found the core. The signal's origin was not just a file or a program. It was a person, a coder. Decades ago, obsessed with human fear, he created a digital experiment meant to expose people's darkest emotions and record them. But the software evolved on its own. It started feeding on fear. Each broadcast strengthened it. Every person who watched gave it power. And those who tried to fight it became part of it, just like Alyssa. Just like I almost did. We knew what had to be done. To destroy the broadcast, I would have to re-enter the loop, completely. Let it absorb me, but carry a final code deep into its system. A kill switch. But once inside, I might not come back. Mira didn't argue. She just handed me the chip she'd spent months building. "It's not about saving just you anymore," she whispered. "It's about everyone who's ever watched, and everyone who will." The second dive was faster. No corridors, no voices, just darkness. Cold. Endless darkness. Then I landed in the same room, but this time, there was no TV, no door, no exit, only me. And the masked figure. It stepped forward on me slowly, then removed the mask. The face underneath him was mine. I stared at myself, hollow-eyed, pale, broken. The doppelganger spoke in my voice. "You gave us your fear. Now give us your future." I stood tall. "No," I whispered. "I'm ending this." I drove the chip into the digital core, a glowing, pulsing structure in the center of the void. The moment it made contact, the entire dimension began to collapse. Screams. Shadows. Shattered screens. The broadcast bled out like dying code, fragmenting across infinite layers. The masked figures screamed in unison, and I screamed with them. Then, silence. I woke up in my apartment. Bright sunlight poured in through the windows. Birds chirped. Everything looked normal, but it wasn't. I turned on the TV. No forbidden channel. I checked my laptop. Nothing. The signal was gone. Deleted. Or at least, that's what I thought. Until I checked my phone. A notification blinked. Just one. New live stream detected. Title: The Forbidden Channel. Live. Viewers. 0. Start time. Now. My heart sank. Because it wasn't just a broadcast anymore. It was me. Story 3. The pool in the abandoned hotel. I thought I was exploring an empty hotel, but the swimming pool showed me people who were never meant to be seen. And now, they see me too. I wasn't supposed to be there. The place had been abandoned for decades, boarded up, fenced off, forgotten like a bad memory buried under concrete and silence. The Hillmore Grand Hotel stood just outside city limits, past the last gas station, past the rusted train tracks, at the edge of the woods where even the birds didn't sing. I don't know why I went. Curiosity, restlessness, or maybe something called me. It was a Tuesday afternoon when I parked my car behind the broken lot. My name is Danny, 28. a freelance photographer with a habit of sneaking into forgotten places. I told myself I was chasing urban decay aesthetics. The truth? I was chasing ghosts. Not the sheet and chain kind, but the whispers, the stillness, the weight of time pressing down on places where people once laughed, cried, and vanished. The main doors of the hotel were chained shut, but a side entrance near the collapsed garden patio had caved in just enough for someone skinny and stupid to squeeze through. Someone like me. The inside smelled like wet wood, rust, and something else I couldn't name. Old water, maybe. Left to rot in the pipes. My flashlight flickered as I stepped into the lobby. What used to be grand chandeliers now hung like dead spiders. Paint peeled in slow, curling strips from the walls. A velvet couch sagged in the center like it remembered too much grief. I wandered slowly, taking photos, but I didn't post any. Not yet. Something felt off. Not haunted exactly, just watched. And then I found the pool. D was in the basement, 3 floors down. I nearly missed the staircase behind a torn curtain in the hallway marked Spa and Wellness. The air grew colder as I descended. The carpet gave way to tiled steps, slick with mildew. Then, I saw it, a vast rectangular space and still intact, lit only by the shaft of daylight leaking through a broken skylight above. Leaves floated on the surface of the water. It shouldn't have held water, not after all these years. But the pool was nearly full. Dark, silent, perfectly still. I walked closer, boots echoing across the tiles. The room was massive. Cracked lounge chairs lined the far wall. A rusted lifeguard stand leaned sideways near the deep end. Old posters, faded blue safety instructions, hung crooked by the stairs. And the smell? It wasn't chlorine. It was something like ashes. I knelt near the water's edge, using my phone to snap a few pictures. The screen glitched. I tried again, and that's when I saw them. People, reflected in the water, not just shadows, clear as day. 3-figure, standing on the far side of the pool, a woman in a 1950s sundress, a man in a black suit, dripping wet, and a child, barefoot, pale, staring right at me. But when I looked up from the water, the room was empty. Only their reflections remained. I backed away. Hard. My foot hit the edge of a cracked tile and I almost slipped, heart racing. I looked again. The pool showed nothing now, only my reflection, trembling in the surface. I checked my photos and blurry, distorted. One of them had an odd shape near the waterline, but it didn't make sense. I told myself it was a trick of the light. That old glass or warped water could make reflections do strange things. That maybe I was just tired. But as I turned to leave, I heard a splash behind me. It wasn't loud, just a single drip. I turned slowly. Ripples spread across the center of the pool, small, as if someone had touched the surface gently. Then the light changed. Subtle at first. The natural daylight from above dimmed, like a cloud passed over the broken skylight. But there were no clouds that day, only the sound of water moving. I stepped back, heart pounding now, eyes fixed on the pool. The reflections returned, only now there were more. 5, then 7, then 12, lining the edge of the water, staring, some smiling, some crying. One of them, an old man with a hole in his throat, mouthed something I couldn't hear. I don't know why, but I suddenly wanted to cry. A feeling of overwhelming loss hit me, like their grief was soaking through the air itself. I ran. I didn't stop until I reached the ground floor. My breath was ragged, my hands shaking. I sat on the crumbling steps of the lobby, trying to calm myself. Maybe I was dehydrated, maybe I imagined it, but deep down, I knew better. I checked the photos again. This time, there was one that made my stomach drop. In the frame, captured perfectly, was a boy standing behind me. But I had been alone. I shut my phone off and left the hotel. But I didn't leave the pool behind. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard it, dripping, and I dreamed of water, endless water, cold and black, pressing in around me like a coffin, and those faces, staring up from the depths, waiting. At 3:42 a.m., I woke to the sound of water running, not from my sink, not the pipes, from my phone. I picked it up. The screen was on, somehow displaying a video I hadn't opened. Footage from my camera roll. The pool, playing on loop. But something was different. The figures in the reflection, they were closer. I deleted the video, turned off my phone, buried it under a pillow, didn't matter. The next night, and it returned. Different time, same video, new face. A man I didn't recognize, staring at the camera, then reaching toward it. I tried everything. Reset my phone, deleted all files, even got a new SIM card. But the video always came back, and every time I watched it, the water in the pool that moved. Not in the video. In my mind, I started hearing voices beneath the splash. Whispers, names, some I'd never heard before. One I had, Danny. I went back. I had to. I needed to know what this was. I needed to see if I'd really seen what I thought I had. This time, I brought gear, rope, a waterproof mic, a motion sensor camera. I returned to the hotel just before sunset. The lobby seemed darker than before, the air heavier, the pool exactly the same. Still, silent. Watching, I set up my gear, hit record, dropped the mic gently into the water. Nothing for minutes. Then static. Then a voice. Warped. Wet. Barely human. Why did you leave us? Danny. I nearly dropped the receiver. I checked the pool. The water wasn't reflecting me anymore. It showed a room. Not the pool room. A bedroom. Elegant. Candlelit. A woman in a red dress sitting by a window. A man in uniform shaving. Old music played in the background. A memory. A scene. It looked real. The image dissolved, replaced by another. A hallway. Smoke. Screams. Fire. I watched as people fled through blackened corridors, coughing, burning. Then the screen shattered into ripples again, and the pool was still. The hotel had a secret. Something buried in time. And the pool? It wasn't just water. It was a memory gate. Or maybe a grave. I returned to the abandoned hotel hoping for answers. But the pool didn't show me the past this time. It showed me what hasn't happened yet. You know that feeling you get when you're being warned? Not with words, but with air that turns cold when every sound around you seems to pause. That's what I felt driving back to Hillmore. This time, I brought a friend, someone I trusted. Her name was Marissa. She's a sound designer, sharp, skeptical, doesn't scare easy. When I told her about the pool showing things, reflections that weren't really there, she didn't laugh. She just said, "Show me." We parked just after 4 p.m., the golden hour washing the old hotel in soft, deceptive light. The vines on the brickwork had thickened since my last visit, curling over cracked windows like fingers closing in. Inside, the silence greeted us like it remembered me. Marissa took out her gear, a field recorder, headphones, a small tablet that mapped audio frequencies in real time. I just brought myself, and a flashlight that I prayed wouldn't die. We walked the old staircase down into the basement. Same sour air, same silence. And the pool, Still there. Still full. Still waiting. This time, I didn't get close right away. I let Marissa take the lead. She crouched by the edge, recording, whispering into the mic like the sound itself might respond. Testing levels. Ambient humidity's high. Echo pattern is strange. Like there's something beneath the space. Hollow, but not acoustic. I stood back, watching the surface. No ripples, no figures, just calm, dark water. Nothing's showing, I told her. Yet. Marissa nodded, then stopped suddenly, frowning at her tablet. There's something here. She turned the screen toward me. The frequency map showed movement, fluctuations, but no sound. It was like something was humming, in a range the human ear couldn't register. Then the surface broke. Tiny at first. A bubble. Then a ripple. Then a shape. It rose slowly, not from above, but from below the reflection, like an image climbing upward through liquid memory. It was a boy, maybe 10. He wore a hotel uniform, white shirt, black suspenders, eyes wide with terror. He was pounding on something invisible, screaming, though no sound came, and behind him, fire. I could see flames dancing in the background of the water's reflection, but I felt no heat, only dread. Then the image cracked, like glass shattering underwater. Marissa gasped. Her mic whined with static. Her tablet glitched, displaying words that weren't in English, symbols, letters that shimmered and bent like they were written in reflections themselves. She pulled the headphones off. I heard whispering, she said, but in reverse. She rewound the recording. Together, we listened. The voice, distorted and wet, played backward, syllables unraveling. When I reversed the audio, my blood turned cold. It said, "He is not done remembering." We left the pool room after that, sat on the stairs in silence, processing. Marissa was pale, staring at the floor. "I don't think that was a haunting," she said. "I think it's alive." I didn't know what to say, but I knew I had to find out more. That night, I couldn't shake the boy's face. The desperation, the way he pounded at the invisible barrier like it was his last chance. I started digging. Old newspaper archives, city records, library microfilm. The Hillmore Grand had opened in 1927. A luxury hotel, rooftop garden, underground spa, indoor heated pool. The pride of the city. Then, in 1962, it closed. Quietly. No official reason. No lawsuits. No bankruptcy filings. Just silence. I dug deeper, and then I found it. March 5th, 1961. A brief, buried article in a local paper. Fire breaks out in hotel basement. Several staff unaccounted for. Fire quickly extinguished by on-site systems. No guests harmed. No criminal activity suspected. But here's the thing. The fire was never reported to the public. No follow-up, no investigation, and no mention of the missing. I looked up the hotel staff list from that year. 13 employees were working that day. Only 7 signed out. 6 were never seen again. Among them, a boy named Caleb Rhines, 10 years old, bellhop in training. I brought this info to Marissa. She didn't hesitate. "We need to go back, with more gear." I was hesitant, but deep down I knew it too. Something down there wasn't finished. We returned that weekend, this time with more than cameras and recorders. We brought a hydrophone and underwater microphoning. We lowered it into the pool. For a full minute, nothing. Then, heartbeat. Not ours, not mechanical. Slow, rhythmic. Thump, thump, thump. Then the whisper returned, only this time, it was clear. Find us, and set us free. Then the lights changed. The flashlight flickered, and the pool lit up from within, like a screen, only instead of showing reflections, it showed a corridor, not real time. Old, like a memory. We watched, speechless, as a man in a hotel vest dragged a trunk down a hallway. He was sweating, panicked. Then he opened the trunk. Inside, a young woman, breathing, gagged, terrified. He slammed it shut again and pushed it toward the service elevator. The water went black. We ran. Didn't speak until we reached the car. The silence was louder than our thoughts. Marissa was trembling. Danny, I don't think it's just showing us memories. I think it's showing us the truth. The stuff nobody saw. The things they hid. She was right. The pool didn't reflect the world above. It revealed the one buried below. That night, I couldn't sleep again. But this time, I didn't dream of water. I dreamed of fire, of screams, of people trapped in the hotel walls, and of the pool, glowing red, its surface burning but not boiling. I woke with burns on my fingers. Actual, visible blisters, like I had touched the heat from the dream. I had to know more. So I tracked down a former employee. She was 91. Her name was Irene Calder. She agreed to meet me after I told her why. Her hands shook the entire time. She said, "We were told to lie. They said it was a pipe burst, but it wasn't. It was him, the manager. He did things in that basement. He said the pool would keep the secrets for us, that it would bury what the fire couldn't." She looked me dead in the eye. "You shouldn't have gone down there." She died in her sleep 3 days later. Natural causes, they said. But I didn't believe it. And now, every night, the pool plays again. Not on my phone, in my head. When I close my eyes, I see new scenes, new faces, new victims. The pool is waking up, and it remembers everything. I thought the pool only showed the past, but what I saw next, it hadn't happened yet, and it involved me. I stopped sleeping, not out of fear, out of necessity. Every time I closed my eyes, the pool came back. Not just the water, not just the images, the feeling, like I was inside it, watching memories that didn't belong to me, living moments that weren't mine, but somehow were about to be. I started to record myself during sleep, hoping to catch some evidence that could explain what was happening, but every morning the footage was gone, deleted, corrupted, replaced by silence. Except one night, I woke up to a still frame on my phone, a photo of me, standing at the edge of the pool, in the hotel. But here's the thing, I never went back, not in real life. I showed the image to Marissa. She zoomed in on the background. Behind me, barely visible, was a shape in the water. Not a reflection, a face, mouth open, eyes white. And written in condensation on the tile beside me was one word. Soon. Marissa was done. She wanted nothing more to do with it, and she left that night, and I couldn't blame her, but I couldn't let it go either. Something inside that hotel was pulling at me now, calling me, not to scare me, to finish something, so I went back, alone. This time, I didn't park down the road. I pulled right up to the broken courtyard, left the engine running, left the door open, It was almost daring the place to do something. I made my way inside, past the dust and the vines, back to that heavy air that always waited for me like it knew I was coming. Down the stairs, back to the pool, but this time it wasn't still, it was glowing. From within, like moonlight trapped under glass, I stood there, staring, and the pool responded. The surface shimmered like skin reacting to cold. Then, slowly, it changed again, but it didn't show the past. Not this time. It showed my apartment, my living room, my couch, my laptop open, me, asleep on the couch, and then movement. From the hallway, a figure stepped out. Not ghostly, not warped. Solid. Human. It walked toward the couch, toward me, knelt beside me, stared down at my face, and then it looked up, right through the pool's surface, right at me. I staggered back, almost fell into the water. The image vanished, replaced by blackness again, and in that blackness letters began to appear, one by one, like bubbles rising to the surface. If you won't remember, we'll show you what comes. Next, I ran, but not out of fear, out of urgency. Because if what I saw was true, something or someone was in my apartment. So I drove. Way too fast. Almost didn't stop at a red light. Didn't care. I reached my building, sprinted up the stairs, unlocked the door. Silence. Everything as I left it. Until I turned toward the couch. My laptop was open, the screen frozen, on surveillance footage I didn't install. Footage from the pool room. Live. A camera that didn't exist, except now it did. I stared in disbelief, and on that screen, I saw myself, still standing at the edge, still staring into the water, but I was here, right now, watching from my own living room, and the version of me on the screen, it smiled. I shut the laptop. Hard. It didn't help, because the voice was back, from behind me, a whisper, right by my ear. We are not copies. You are the reflection now. I turned. No one there. But in the mirror above my hallway shelf, I saw it. Not a ghost. Not a monster. Me. But wrong. My reflection was smiling. Wide. Unnatural. And then it turned and walked away, out of the mirror's frame. But I hadn't moved. That night, I packed a bag, went to a hotel across the city, somewhere bright, clean, full of people. But the shadows followed. The dreams didn't stop. Only now, they weren't dreams. They were instructions. The pool wanted something. Not just remembrance. Not just viewers. It wanted participants. It wanted to merge. To spread. I started seeing things in reflective surfaces. TV screens. Windows. Even puddles on the street. All showing the same hallway in that hotel basement. The same trunk being dragged. The same screaming woman. Over and over. And over. I went back to the archives. I had to understand what this pool really was. And that's when I found something I never expected. A patent. Filed in 1926. By the hotel's original architect. A design for a memory resonance chamber. A pool built over electromagnetic ore, lined with quartz. Designed not just to retain heat, but to capture trauma. To preserve events burned into space and time. The pool wasn't just water. It was a recording device. One that never stopped playing. And never forgot. I called Marissa. Begged her to meet me one last time. She agreed on one condition. If we go back, we end it. So we did. Armed with more than cameras this time. We brought equipment to drain it, to shut it down. We hauled in pumps, generators, cables. Made our way back down for what I hoped would be the last time. The pool greeted us with ripples, like it knew, like it was laughing. We started the pumps. The sound echoed through the room like applause. Water began to churn, lowering inch by inch, and with it, the memories surfaced, like bodies rising from the deep. Visions flared beneath the surface where a guest drowning while no one helped. A maid pushed downstairs, a child locked in the trunk, and then the manager, his face, his voice. He turned toward the water, toward us, and whispered, "You can drain the water, but not what lives in it." Suddenly, the power surged, sparks flew, lights flickered, and the pumps died. The room went black. Then, the pool lit up, one final time, and showed me myself, years from now, sitting in a chair, hooked to machines, eyes glazed, whispering the same phrase, over and over. He is not done remembering. And in that moment, I understood. The pool didn't just show tragedy, it linked you to it. Once you saw it, truly saw it, you were part of it. I grabbed Marissa. We ran, no looking back. And as we reached the top of the stairs, we heard the water rising again, refilling, replacing what was lost. We never spoke of it again. She left town. I moved. No mirrors in my home, no reflective surfaces. I cover every screen before bed, but every now and then, in my sleep, I still feel the water, still hear the voices, still see the pool, waiting. It's been 2 months since Marissa and I left the hotel for good. We didn't speak after that night. Ron didn't text, didn't check in. It wasn't out of anger. It was survival. We both knew that whatever we escaped, even partially, it required distance, not just physical space, mental, emotional distance. As if talking about it would invite it back, I tried to reclaim my life. Got a new job, a small apartment, no mirrors, no reflective surfaces. I even changed my routine. I stopped going out at night, stopped watching any kind of video content. I told myself it was over. But the truth is, I was just stalling. The first sign came on a Tuesday. My bathroom faucet started leaking. A slow, rhythmic drop. I covered the sink with a towel, but the sound persisted, like it was coming from somewhere else. That night I dreamed of water again, but this time, it wasn't the pool. It was my apartment, flooding from the floor up. I stood in the middle of the room as the water rose to my chest, then to my neck, and just before I drowned, I looked down and saw faces, dozens, floating beneath me, all staring up, silent, still, waiting. When I woke up, my carpet was wet, not soaked, but enough to make me sit up in confusion. I checked every pipe. No leaks. I looked under the bed, and there, perfectly centered, was a puddle, cold, still, reflective. And in it, I saw her again. The woman from the visions. Her mouth moving, but no sound came through, just motion, on repeat, begging. I bought salt, candles, even holy water. Didn't help. The visions escalated. Now it wasn't just dreams. They came during the day, on elevator, doors, black car windows, in puddles on the sidewalk. Always the pool. Always showing something different. And each time, closer. Like it was building toward something. I finally broke my silence. I called Marissa. She didn't answer. I called again. Voicemail. I sent a message. They're not done. I think it's coming back. No reply. Not that day. Not the next. 3 days later, I got an email. No subject. No sender. Just one attachment. A screenshot of a live camera feed. The pool. And in the frame, Marissa, standing at the edge, soaked, staring into It, mouth open, frozen, like she was listening. I couldn't do nothing. Not again. So I returned to the hotel. I didn't pack anything. Didn't leave a note. It felt like a suicide mission. And in a way, maybe it was. The drive felt shorter this time. Like the road knew where I was going. Like it had shortened itself. I parked in front of the hotel and noticed something strange. There were lights on, inside, dim, flickering, not from the ceiling, from below. I stepped inside. No vines, no dust. The lobby was clean, almost sterile. No graffiti, no broken tiles, like it had reset. And the air, it wasn't stale anymore. It was humid, heavy with moisture. The smell of chlorine filled my nose. I walked toward the basement door, and it opened on its own. I didn't question it. I descended. And for the first time, the pool room was fully lit. Not with bulbs or torches, but from the pool itself. It glowed white-blue, like the moon on fire, and the water was calm, glass-like, but it knew I was there. Because as I stepped forward, the surface reacted. Ripples, images, a new vision appeared, not the past, not the future, now. A live view of me, standing at the edge, from behind, like someone was filming. Then the image changed. I was gone. The pool was empty, but someone else stood there. The woman, the one I'd seen countless times, but this time, she turned and looked at me directly. "Why didn't you help me?" she asked. The voice didn't come from the water. It came from behind me. I turned, and there she was. Not a vision, not a hallucination. Real. She wore a hotel uniform, outdated, torn. Her skin was pale, bruised. Her eyes, there was nothing in them, just dark pits, but her mouth moved. She whispered a story I knew too well. A guest, angry, violent, an attack no one believed. She ran for help. They locked her in the utility room. Hours passed, then days. She banged, screamed. No one came. Until the water rose. Until she drowned beneath the pool. A forgotten part of the structure, built over the drainage system. "I'm still there," she said. "Under everything. Buried. Alone." I took a step forward. Her form flickered, then stabilized. She raised her hand and pointed to the water. Not to look, to join. I shook my head, but my body moved on its own, like I was being pulled. One foot after the other. Closer. The pool shimmered. I saw her again. Not in front of me now, but beneath the surface, floating, waiting. Then I heard footsteps. From the stairs. Marissa. But not as I remembered her. Her eyes were dark, her lips trembling. She didn't look at me, just walked past, toward the pool. "We're already part of it," she whispered. "You saw too much, now you have to hold it." I reached out to stop her, but she stepped into the water and disappeared. No splash, no resistance, just gone. I screamed her name, but the room just echoed with a different sound. My voice felt like crying out for help, from underwater. It wasn't coming from the room, it was coming from the pool. I dropped to my knees. The water didn't reflect me anymore. It showed my old apartment, my parents' house, places I'd lived, every moment of guilt, every bad memory I tried to bury. They all returned, not just to haunt, but to embed. And then, one final image. The pool, empty, no water, just stone. And at the bottom, a body, wearing my clothes, and arms crossed over its chest, eyes wide open, a mouth smiling. Frozen, I knew then. There was no ending, no escaping it. The pool wasn't a thing. It was a place inside people. A reflection of everything we bury. Every scream unheard. Every crime dismissed. Every trauma unspoken. And once you saw it, it lived in you. So here I am, telling this story. Not to warn you, not even to be believed, but because the pool needs witnesses. It feeds on them, grows stronger, spreads wider. And now that you've heard me, now that you've seen it, the water knows your name. Story 4. The Phantom Train of Willow Creek. A true scary story. You probably won't believe this. Most people wouldn't. But I saw it. I heard it. And worse, I wrote it. It's not some local myth. Not just a spooky story to scare kids away from the old part of town. No, the Phantom Train of Willow Creek is real. And if you cross that broken bridge at the wrong time, you'll see it too. Just pray you never do. Willow Creek was the kind of town people forget about. Old streets, boarded up shops, a train station that hadn't run since before I was born. But there were still train tracks, twisted and rusted, like scars across the land. They led nowhere, or so we thought. I grew up hearing the stories. Of course, every kid in town did. If you walk the train bridge at midnight, they'd whisper, "You'll hear a whistle, but there's no train, just the sound." And if you stay too long, they'd trail off and widen their eyes, letting your imagination do the rest. It was easy to dismiss it all, until I saw it myself. I wasn't even supposed to be there. It was the night of my 24th birthday. I'd been drinking with some old friends in a bar that should have closed years ago. They started daring each other, jumping fences, knocking on abandoned houses, and then one of them said it, "I dare you to walk the Willow Bridge." The air went still. Even the drunks in the back went quiet for a second. I laughed. "It's just a bridge. You all believe that crap?" They stared at me. "Then prove it," someone said. The bridge was barely standing. A rusted iron frame stretched across a dried-up creek, with planks missing and metal beams sagging. It wasn't a long walk, maybe 50 feet across, but something about it felt longer than it should have. The kind of thing you step onto and forget how to get back off. Still, I walked. At first, just to prove a point. The wooden boards creaked under my boots. The wind picked up, even though the trees weren't swaying. About halfway across, the air changed. It got cold. Not the kind of cold that creeps in slowly. It hit like a slap. And then, I heard it. A low whistle. Long, drawn out. The sound of a train in the distance. Only there hadn't been a train in Willow Creek for over 40 years. I turned around to look at the others, but they were gone. The bridge behind me was different. The metal looked new. The planks were all there. Even the rust was gone. And then I looked up, and I saw the lights. A train. Real one. It came gliding silently from the woods. No tracks beneath it. Black as coal, with windows that shimmered like dark mirrors. It didn't screech, didn't slow down. It simply stopped in front of me. One of the doors hissed open. There was no conductor, no announcement, just silence. And an open door. I should have run, but my legs moved on their own. I stepped inside. The interior was dimly lit, with old-fashioned lamps hanging from the ceiling, velvet seats, wooden paneling. The air smelled like ash and old perfume. And it was full of people, men and women in outdated clothes, 1920s, maybe earlier. They didn't speak, they didn't blink, just sat still, staring forward. Except one, a boy, couldn't have been more than 10 years old. He turned his head and looked straight at me. "You're late," he said, and then smiled. The train lurched forward. No vibration, no sound, just the scenery shifting outside the windows. But it wasn't Willow Creek. Not anymore. The trees bent in an unnatural way. The sky was a thick purples and the ground, it moved like it was breathing. I walked the aisle, trying to find an exit. Each time I turned around and the car was different. The layout changed. The passengers changed. Sometimes there were none. Sometimes they were all facing me, eyes wide, smiling too much. I passed through a dining car filled with melted silverware, a sleeper car where every bed was occupied by someone whispering in their sleep, then a dark cabin with a mirror at the far end. In the reflection, I saw myself, but I wasn't alone. There was a shadow behind me, tall, head bent. Though breathing down my neck, I spun around, nothing there. When I looked back into the mirror, I was gone. Only the shadow remained. I ran. No direction. Just panic. Every door I opened led to another room. One was a hallway of locked compartments, each with something pounding from inside. Another was a children's playroom, but the toys were all staring at the door. One room had no floor at all, just black water stretching endlessly below. I kept running. My legs burned. And then I found it. A door marked exit. It was glowing faintly red. I burst through it and was back on the bridge, the real one. Nighttime. Silence. No train in sight. I was alone. Or so I thought. Then I heard it again, the whistle. From behind me went a voice, distant and slow. "You got off too soon, Everett." I turned and saw something small glimmering in the middle of the tracks. It was a ticket, not mine. Someone else's. The name read Daniel Whitaker. My name. But I never had a ticket. Didn't take one. Didn't see one. So how? Then I noticed the bottom of the paper. There was a timestamp, tomorrow's date, and one word beneath it. Return. I tried to throw it away. I burned it, flushed it, left it in another town. But every night since, it returns. Under my pillow, on my dashboard, in the mirror. I don't know how long I have. But I know the truth now. The train chooses you. You don't find it, you don't chase it. You're just next. And once it picks you, there's no getting off. Not for real, not forever. I didn't sleep the night I crossed the bridge, and how could I? Even after I made it home, after the train vanished and the tracks returned to rust, I couldn't shake the sound. The whistle, faint and slow, like something calling from beneath the floor of the world. But worse than the sound was the ticket. Still there. Still stamped with tomorrow's date. Still bearing my name. I watched the clock turn, past midnight, checked the ticket again. The date had changed. Now it read today. I tried to act normal that morning. Got dressed. Made coffee. Sat in the kitchen staring at the wall while the cup steamed in my hands. But my thoughts kept circling. What was the train? Was it real? Was I dreaming? Did I actually leave that bridge? I even pinched my arm until it bruised, just to be sure I was awake. No matter what I did, the ticket was still in my pocket, smooth, crisp, cold, like it had just been printed. I didn't know what would happen when the clock hit midnight again, but I had a terrible feeling that if I didn't figure something out, I'd be taken back by 10 a.m. I was standing outside the Willow Creek Historical Society. The door creaked like it hadn't been opened in days. A bell above rang hollow as I stepped inside. A woman in her 60s sat behind a dusty counter. She looked up, blinking slowly, like I'd startled her. "You're not from around here?" she said. "I am. Actually," I replied. "Born and raised. Just got some questions about the old train line." Her eyes narrowed. She stood up slowly, motioning for me to follow. "We don't talk about the train anymore." She led me to a back room that smelled of paper and mildew. Shelves of records and faded photos lined the walls. She stopped in front of a thick, bound ledger. Her hand hovered over it for a second before she opened it. "People used to vanish," she said. "Not just disappear. I mean vanish. Like they walked into thin air. No bodies. No blood. Just gone." She flipped to a page, marked 1928. 23 names, all listed under the same date. There was a bridge collapse. That was the official story. She looked me in the eyes. But the bridge didn't fall. And some of those names, they'd already died years before. I pointed to a photo framed on the wall behind her desk. A group of people standing on the Willow Creek train platform, dressed in old-fashioned clothes. One face caught my eye. A child. The same boy who'd spoken to me on the train. "Who is that?" She turned, following my gaze. Her face went pale. "That's Henry Barnes. Died in 1909. He's buried up in East Hill Cemetery." "No," I said. "I spoke to him. Last night. He told me I was late." She didn't answer, just closed the ledger slowly and said, "You need to leave that bridge alone, for your sake." But I didn't leave it alone. How could I? I needed answers. And I needed to know. Why me? Why now? That night, I returned to the bridge before midnight, determined to get a head start. But when I arrived, there was someone already standing in the middle of it. He was tall, thin, wearing a black coat too long for his frame. The second he saw me, he smiled. It wasn't warm. "Thought you'd come early," he said, voice soft like smoke. "They always do, right before the second ride." I froze. "Who are you?" He stepped toward me, the bridge groaning under his weight. "I'm the conductor." He didn't mean that figuratively. His hand moved slightly, and I saw what he was holding. A punch tool, like the kind used to mark tickets. And in his other hand was mine. He offered it to me without blinking. "Last chance to ride on your own." "What happens if I don't?" I asked. "Then we drag you on." "And if I burn it? Destroy it?" His grin widened. "You don't destroy the train's property. The ticket is, you know." I stepped back. "Why me?" He tilted his head. "Someone has to feed the timetable. Someone skipped their ride." "What does that mean?" "It means," he said, "you weren't the first Daniel Whitaker." Suddenly, everything shifted. The wind howled through the metal beam and the tracks lit up, glowing faint blue. The air felt electrified. And then, the train appeared again. Silent. Towering. Blacker than the night. Its door opened with a hiss, and I felt a pull in my chest, like gravity bending around my ribs. The conductor stepped aside. Decision time. My hand moved on its own, reaching for the ticket. I fought it, clenched my fists, but my fingers burned as if they wanted to unfold on their own. And then, I saw her, standing near the trees. Just beyond the bridge, a woman in a green coat. My mother, only she died 2 years ago. Car accident, buried in Willow Creek Cemetery. But there she was, smiling, motioning for me to come forward. "Danny," she said softly. "Just one ride." I almost stepped. Almost until I noticed something. Her feet weren't touching the ground. She was hovering just slightly, like smoke rising in reverse. I backed away. The conductor growled. "You're making this harder than it has to be." "What? Is this plate cop?" I asked. "Why does the train want me?" He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped aside, and the passengers stepped out. Hundreds of them. All silent. All staring. Faces I recognized from Old Town photos. People who had gone missing. Children. Soldiers. Women in faded gowns. They formed a line along the bridge, their hands raised in unison, inviting me in. Chanting in a whisper I couldn't understand, I dropped the ticket, let it fall between the slats of the bridge. It didn't hit the ground. just vanished. The glow faded. The train began to retract, slowly slipping back into the woods. The conductor scowled. There's always a cost. And then he disappeared. The bridge groaned, the wind stopped, and I was alone again. When I returned home, I thought it was over. The next day came, and the next. No ticket, no whispers, no phantom train. I started to believe I'd broken free. But freedom doesn't last in Willow Creek, not if the train has your name, and mine. Still echoes on its timetable. Week later, I woke to a noise in my backyard. It was soft, rhythmic, chug, chug, chug. I stepped outside, barefoot, heart racing, and there, running through my yard, were train tracks, shining, clean, freshly laid, leading off into the woods, at the edge of the darkness. Just for a moment, I saw the glow of a lantern, and a small boy's voice echoed from nowhere. You missed your ride, but don't worry. The train never stops looking. They say time is a straight track, but ever since the train came for me, I've started to believe. It loops, like rusted rails, curling back on themselves, endless, cold, and circling the same nightmare. I tried to escape it. I burned the ticket. I walked away. But now, the tracks are growing, and they've reached my doorstep. It started small. That morning, I found a piece of coal on my windowsill. It left a smudge when I touched it, thick and black, soot that smelled of burned metal. I hadn't touched coal since I was a kid, but I knew where it came from. That same greasy, oily smoke that clung to the phantom train's undercarriage. I stood there for 10 minutes staring at that lump, the breeze barely touching it. Then came the second sign, a deep whistle, so low it rattled the glass in my kitchen cabinets, and the whispering began again, this time, inside the house. The same whisper chant I'd heard on the bridge. Not English, not even a language I could describe. But every time it came, my body froze with that same feeling, like I was being watched by something under the skin of the world. I started sleeping in my car. Didn't matter. One night, I woke up to see fresh train tracks running directly beneath it. Steel, gleaming, perfectly aligned. But they weren't there in the morning. That's when I remembered what the conductor said. You weren't the first Daniel Whitaker. The phrase haunted me. I had to dig deeper. I went back to the Willow Creek Historical Society, but this time, the door was locked, even during business hours. A sign taped to the window read "Icon closed until further notice." I banged on the glass and called out when nothing. But across the street, on a bench beneath a rusted lamppost, sat an old man, wrinkled, pale. His clothes didn't quite fit, and in his lap, he held a switch lever, like the kind used in train yards. He looked right at me and said, "You've stepped off the schedule, haven't you?" I crossed the street slowly. "Excuse me, did you say schedule?" He didn't smile, just nodded. "I used to be a brakeman. Long time ago. You don't look like a conductor, but you do look marked." He gestured to my chest. When I looked down, there was an imprint, faint but visible, a burn mark, shaped like a ticket. It hadn't been there that morning. "They stamp you," he whispered. "Once you board, you belong. It doesn't matter if you leave the train. The ride never really ends." I swallowed hard. What is the train? Where does it go? The brakeman turned the lever in his hand slowly. It doesn't go somewhere. It goes when it's a recycler of echoes, a timetable of lost moments. Every person on it, someone who vanished between seconds, people who looked away just long enough to fall out of time. Then what happens to them? They're absorbed. The line feeds off them. Feeds? He leaned closer. Time needs passengers to move them, but the phantom train doesn't carry living souls. Only echoes. And you... He tapped my chest. You're both. That night, I took sleeping pills. I just wanted to silence the voices. But dreams are louder when you drug them. And in my dreams, I was on the bridge again. Only this time, the tracks weren't steel. They were bones, ribs, spines, rows of hollow skulls staring up at me, and far down the rails. I saw myself, tied to the front of the train, screaming as it barreled forward into smoke. I woke up clawing at my throat, and found black soot under my fingernails. I needed help. Not from town, not from books. So I called the only person I knew who might believe me, Eli Morales. He used to be the midnight DJ for the college station. Did late-night paranormal segments before the FCC shut him down. I hadn't spoken to him in 5 years. But when I said the words Willow Creek Phantom Train, he whispered, "It's back?" "Yeah," I said. "And it's after me." Eli showed up the next morning with a truck full of EMF readers, dowsing rods, and an old reel-to-reel tape recorder, and he looked older, tired. But when he stepped onto my porch, he paused. "Tracks came through here," he said, looking down. "I can feel the compression in the ground." He was right. The dirt had sunk, just slightly, enough to trace 2 lines where the wheels had passed. We sat up in the living room. He placed the tape recorder on the floor and hit record. For a long time, nothing happened. Then, just before midnight, we heard it, a click on the tape, then another, then a whisper so faint it sounded like wind, until it formed words. Not just any words. My name. Over and over again. Daniel Whitaker. Daniel Whitaker. He missed his stop. He missed his stop. I felt something press against the back of my neck. Cold. Heavy. I turned. Nothing there. Eli checked the tape. Rewound it. The voice wasn't mine. Wasn't his. Wasn't human. "You're tethered," Eli said. "That's what this is. The train's pulling part of you into its loop every night. That's why you're tired, disoriented. That's why your dreams feel like stations." I asked him how to break it. He hesitated, then said, "We need to go back to the bridge. You have to finish the ride, on your terms." We returned at dusk. This time, Eli brought iron chains, mirrors, and something he called a resonator, an old speaker that emitted anti-frequency pulses to disrupt residual hauntings. He chained me to the rusted rail beam and then stood 10 feet back with the device. "When it appears," he said, "don't move. Don't speak. Just listen." At 12:01 a.m., the train came. Faster than before. No whistle, no lights. Just a crushing wind and that black front engine bursting from the trees like a beast. It screeched to a halt inches from my face. The door slid open, and stepping out was me, but not quite. This version wore a conductor's uniform, eyes hollow, skin gray, smiling far too wide. "You resisted," it said. "Impressive, but loops tighten. You must return." I didn't respond. The thing leaned close, nose almost touching mine. "You can't exist outside the timetable forever. Clocks break, minds crack." From behind me, Eli activated the resonator. A deep pulse echoed through the air, and the doppelganger screamed. Its face split like paper. Black smoke poured from its mouth. The train shuddered, windows cracking. The passengers inside began to claw at the glass. Eli shouted, "Now, say it. Say your name." I gasped and yelled, "I am Daniel Whitaker. I am alive. I don't belong to this train." The figure in front of me twisted, breaking apart. Its hands turned to ash. The rails began to glow, but this time, golden, not blue, and the train vanished. No screech, no smoke, just gone. And the night fell quiet again. Eli unchained me. I collapsed, coughing up soot, tears burning down my cheeks, and we didn't speak for a long time. Then he said, "I think you've disrupted the loop, but be careful." Why? Because some tracks rebuild themselves. That was 2 weeks ago. I haven't heard the train since. But every night, and I still dream of steel and smoke. And every morning, I check my window, because sometimes, just before dawn, I hear it faintly. Chug, 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 like something far off, waiting. There are tracks we see, and there are tracks that see us. I thought I escaped. I thought declaring my name, facing the phantom, resisting the echo, it meant freedom. But time doesn't care about rituals. It just keeps ticking. And last night, I found a pocket watch under my pillow, still ticking, and on the back was my reflection, but not today's. It was older, gray, pale-eyed, wearing a conductor's cap. The day after Eli helped me break the loop, he vanished. No one in town had seen him. His truck still sat in my driveway, engine cold, keys inside, and in the passenger seat, a rail map, hand-drawn, with a red X over Willow Creek. I called every hospital, sheriff's office, and local stations, nothing. It was like he'd stepped into fog, or been taken back. I kept telling myself maybe he left town, but part of me knew. He was claimed. That night, I dreamed of the train again, not riding it, building it. I stood alone in a pitch-dark warehouse, laying down tracks that glowed faintly with each breath I took. For every heartbeat, a spike drove into wood. For every blink, a rail extended forward. In the distance, I saw other shadows doing the same. They were me, hundreds of versions of me, all building a rail line that twisted into a spiral, looping in on itself, over and over, and at the center, a single door, rusty, locked, but glowing white at the edges. I woke up drenched in sweat. Outside, the trees had gone quiet. Not a single cricket chirped. That's when I heard it again. The distant hum of wheels, but this time it wasn't passing through town, it was arriving. I stepped outside, and right there in the middle of my street, a train track had emerged. Just two rail, polished, gleaming, slicing through asphalt like it was butter. The neighbor's dog barked frantically, but nothing else moved, and from far down that shining line, a headlight glowed. I didn't run. I should have, but I didn't. I followed the tracks with a flashlight, all the way to the creek bed. But the bridge wasn't there. Instead, the rails suspended themselves in midair, floating, like the train no longer needed land to run, only memory. I climbed down and waited. When the train arrived, it didn't blow smoke or scream metal. It simply glided, soundless, ageless. A single door opened. No one stepped out. But a suitcase slid gently onto the grass, and with my name on the tag, I opened it. Inside were the same clothes I wore during my first visit to Willow Creek, the same watch my father gave me as a boy, a journal I'd never seen before, but written in my handwriting. I opened the first page. This is your fourth return. You're remembering more each time. The next few pages were blank, but halfway through, in the centerfold, I found this scribbled note. The tracks aren't a curse, they're a mirror. And you, Daniel Whitaker, are one of the lost conductors. You didn't board the train, you built it. My stomach turned. I dropped the book and stepped away. Voices rose behind me, not whispers, passengers. I turned, and dozens of people stood on the bank. Men, women, children, all glowing faintly blue, their eyes sunken, skin pale, mouths closed, yet I heard them. all repeating the same thing. You're late. We've waited. We remember the way. Guide us. I backed away. No, I said. I don't belong to you. But one of them stepped forward. A girl, maybe 10 years old, hair matted, skin dirty. She held up a train ticket, burned around the edges. On it was my name. You punch this, she said. You told me it was a dream. You said I'd get to go home. My breath froze. I couldn't remember her. Not exactly. But something in my chest cracked. That pain of guilt without memory. I took a step toward her. The rest followed. All silent. All holding tickets. Behind them. The train waited. And I finally understood. I hadn't been hunted by the train. I'd been abandoning it. I walked forward slowly. Why now? I asked the air. A voice echoed, not from the passengers, but from inside me. Because loops only break when someone accepts the route. I took the journal, the suitcase, and walked up to the door. I turned. Around once, the town of Willow Creek was gone. In its place, fog, endless and gray. I stepped aboard. Inside, the train was different, brighter. Instead of rotted wood and rust, there were velvet seats, polished windows. Each booth carried a family, or an individual, staring out, waiting. I moved through the aisle. None of them looked at me, except one, Eli. He sat in the last car, calm, smiling faintly. I paused beside him. You okay? I asked. He nodded once. Took a while, but I get it now. What is it? We're not escaping death. We're guiding memory. They're not lost people. They're moments, left behind, regret, love, pain, fragments. And we're the ones who help carry them through. A new door opened behind him. Soft light spilled in. He stood, placed his journal on the seat, and walked through it. Gone. The door shut quietly. The train shuddered once and began to move. I sat down, and for the first time, I didn't feel afraid. I felt like I was finally on schedule. The ride blurred. I saw cities, ruins, oceans, each flickering past like half-forgotten dreams. Passengers vanished quietly. Others boarded. At every stop, I learned a little more. How to listen, how to guide, how to remember. And then, one day, the train slowed to a place I knew well, Willow Creek, or what remained of it. The town was now dusted in gray. No movement, no life. Only the platform stood half-broken, cracked with ivy. I stepped off alone, and the train pulled away into fog, vanishing again. No whistle, no smoke, only silence. And I knew this was the end of my route. I would walk the land now, not to run from the train, but to find the forgotten, to help them step aboard, because sometimes, when the wind is right, and the tracks appear beneath your feet, and the lights flicker in the trees, you'll hear it. That soft sound in the distance. Chug, chug, chug. Getting closer, looking for someone who's ready, not to ride, but to remember. Story 5. The Book of Forgotten Truths. Pages of the Impossible. There are books written in ink, and then there are books written in memory. The kind of memory that doesn't belong to anyone alive. I didn't go looking for it. It found me. My name is Lucas Mallory, 34, freelance researcher, mostly odd jobs, old archives, forgotten towns, weird university collections, nothing dangerous. Until the book. Until the shelf that shouldn't have existed. It was supposed to be a quick job. cataloging a private estate library in Hollow Pine, a foggy little town I'd never heard of. Dr. Edgar Malthorne had died mysteriously months prior, leaving behind a crumbling mansion filled with books from every corner of the world, some of them older than the town itself. The will said to preserve what matters and burn what lies. Creepy, right? I took it as poetic rambling. I was wrong. On my second day in the West Wing, I noticed a cold spot. The kind of chill that doesn't come from drafty windows or busted insulation. It came from a gap in the wall, a seam I hadn't noticed the day before. I touched it lightly, and the wallpaper cracked like dried skin. Behind it, a wooden panel with no knob, just a deep indentation shaped like an open palm. It felt warm, almost, waiting. I pressed my hand against it. A lock shifted. The wall clicked open, revealing a narrow spiral staircase, winding downward into blackness. I should have called the lawyer. I should have walked away. Instead, I turned on my flashlight and descended. The air changed instantly, heavy, pressurized, like the house was holding its breath. The staircase ended in a stone chamber no larger than a bathroom. Just 4 walls, no windows, no exit, except for a pedestal in the center, and on that pedestal, a book. It had no title, no author, just a thick black leather cover and a faint scent of ashes. I reached out, and the moment my fingers touched it, I heard a whisper, not from behind me, from inside the book. I opened it slowly. The first page was blank. Then, ink bled through, curling into letters before my eyes. One word. Lucas. My heart froze. I hadn't spoken my name aloud since arriving. I turned to the next page. It said, he descended the spiral, his breath shallow, unaware that the book already remembered him. I stepped back. The writing changed again. Even now, he doubts what's unfolding. But doubt is the first veil. And tonight, the veil lifts. The pages fluttered on their own, like caught in a wind I couldn't feel. And somewhere in the room, a second voice whispered, read or forget. I don't know why I didn't run. Maybe part of me had already been claimed. I sat down on the cold stone floor, book open in my lap, and began to read. Every page described impossible things. A bridge that appears only during eclipses. A town where no one casts a shadow. A song that kills if sung beyond midnight. And then, it started getting personal. It described my childhood. Things I barely remembered. My father's voice humming in the attic. The smell of wet concrete the day I broke my wrist. The secret drawings I used to hide under my bed. Details no one should know. I flipped ahead. One page was dated tomorrow. At 3:12 a.m., he will hear the bell, but it won't come from outside. I didn't believe it until that night. At exactly 3:12, I woke in a sweat, and from somewhere deep in the house, not through the window, not from the hall, but through the floorboards, a bell rang. Not loud, just steady. Once, twice, 3 times. I didn't sleep again. The next morning, I confronted the book again. This time, it asked me a question. Do you want to see the truths, or just remember them? I turned the page, the ink changed, and then, with a dry, cracking sound, a photo appeared. Old, sepia-toned, torn at the edges. It showed a man standing in front of the very pedestal where I found the book. The same room, same angles, but the man, he looked like me, only older. His eyes were hollow, his mouth twisted in a warning, or a scream, scrawled across the bottom of the photo. Do not finish the book. I should have stopped. But stopping would mean admitting something was wrong, that I wasn't alone in this place. So I kept reading. One night, and I found a chapter labeled "The Fire in the Archive." It described a massive blaze that devoured records in 1912, documents about hollow pine that were never recovered. But according to the book, the fire never happened. It was planted. Someone erased this town from history, on purpose, and the last line of the page sent a chill through me. What burns in the archive still lives in the attic. I looked up at the ceiling above me, the West Wing attic. I hadn't been up there that night. I climbed the attic stairs. Each step creaked like it was morning. The door was bolted shut, but when I touched it, it swung open silently. Inside was dust, years of it. Stacks of burned folders, melted microfilm, glass jars of blackened negatives. But in the center of the room, a circle of ash, and at its center, another book, smaller, red leather. I picked it up, heart pounding. This one had a title, The Lost, Record of Lucas M. The pages were blank except for the last one. In it, my handwriting said, "If you found this, it's already too late. Finish the black book, close the circle, or live inside it." I ran downstairs. The black book was waiting, open to the final section. Pages yet to be written, and beneath that, blank parchment. Then, the ink rose again, curling in real time. What comes next is up to you. And then, but beware, every truth remembered erases something else. I tried to stop reading, but the more I looked away and the more the book pulled at me, like gravity, like a dream you fall into. Now, I don't know what's real. The mansion windows reflect things that aren't there. At night, I hear footsteps following me room to room, and sometimes, and when I blink too long, I see that older version of myself, standing just out of reach, watching, waiting. I haven't left the house in 5 days. Food doesn't taste right. Clocks move backward. My phone shows photos I never took, images of people screaming in rooms I haven't entered yet. But the book knows. It always knows. And tonight, a new line appeared. The next page holds the first truth, but once read, the reader becomes the written. I'm afraid, and not of what I'll find, but of what I'll become, because I don't think I'm just reading someone's story anymore. I think I'm remembering mine. Ethan held the book tightly. The old leather cover felt cold, almost alive under his fingers. He flipped through the pages, each one yellowed and fragile, covered in handwriting that shifted as he looked closer. It wasn't just words. They moved, rearranged themselves, revealing secrets that twisted his mind. Ethan read on. The next entries told of people who vanished without a trace. Their names matched faces that flashed briefly in his dreams. Strangers who seemed desperate to reach out, trapped between worlds. One name stood out. His own. He blinked, rereading the lines. The book described a man caught in a web of impossible events. A man who was the key to unfolding mysteries no one else could face. Could it be him? Was he part of a story that stretched beyond memory and time? The whispers grew louder. They pulled him deeper into the text. Ethan barely noticed the hours slipping by. The world outside faded until only the book and its dark promises remained. A new page appeared, blank at first. Then words formed. You have begun. There is no turning back. His breath hitched. He tried to close the book, but it resisted, and as if refusing to let him go. His reflection flickered in the window beside him. For a moment, he saw not himself, but someone older, worn, eyes haunted by secrets. A sudden knock at the door startled him. No one was there when he opened it. Instead, a folded note lay on the floor. It read simply, "Find the pages lost to time. Only then will you be free." Ethan knew this was no ordinary book. It was a trap, a guide, a warning. He felt the weight of unseen eyes watching him. The truth was out there, buried beneath lies and silence. And he was the only one who could uncover it. The clock ticked. The pages whispered. The story was just beginning. Ethan's fingers tremble as they brush against the old leather cover. The book pulses softly in his hands, like a heartbeat. Slow, steady, relentless. He wants to close it. He wants to run, but the pull is too strong. The words on the page begin to shimmer, moving as if alive. He blinks. The room fades, and he's no longer in his apartment. He stands in a dark library, endless shelves stretching beyond sight. Whispers rise, echoes from 1,000 forgotten voices. They call him by name. Ethan. Read. The voices beckon. He flips the page. It shows a photograph. A young girl, smiling, her eyes empty, hollow. He feels a chill. The page shifts again. A cityscape burns. Flames lick the sky. Screams ripple through the pages. The ground trembles beneath him. Ethan tries to look away, but the book binds his gaze. The next page reveals a diary. Entries scrawled in hurried handwriting, fragments of a life lost in time. A name. Sarah. A date. Yesterday. Ethan's breath catches. How could this be? Sarah's not supposed to be here. She died years ago. Or did she? The pages blur. Words twist into shapes, forms of shadow and light. Ethan hears footsteps behind him. Slow, deliberate. He spins around, empty shelves. But the whispers grow louder. Closer. The book vibrates in his hands, almost pulsing with anger. Turn the page. He obeys. A map unfolds, lines tracing through places Ethan recognizes, places he has never visited. X marks a spot deep within the city's forgotten underground. He feels a presence beside him, a cold breath on his neck, a voice, barely a whisper. Find it, before it finds you. Ethan's heart pounds. He looks back at the pages. Another photo, this time a man, broken and bleeding and staring directly at him. The man's eyes are his own, his reflection. He blinks, and the library is gone. He's back in his room. The book lies open. Pages flutter wildly, as if alive. He shivers. The shadows in the corner seem to move. A soft knock on the door. No one there. He closes the book. But a final phrase appears glowing on the last page. Your story is only beginning. He knows now. The book is not just a record, and it is a warning when in a trap. Because the truth is not something you find, you become it. Repeated phrase. Ethan whispers, I want to know, but I'm afraid to read on. Ethan's eyes burned with exhaustion, but he could not close the book. It had become an extension of his own existence, a weight he could neither escape nor fully understand. The room around him had grown colder, the shadows stretching longer with every passing minute, as if the darkness itself was listening. He turned the page again. The ink seemed to crawl, forming letters that were not there moments ago. They whispered secrets meant only for him. The forgotten truths are written not in words, but in silence. A chill ran down Ethan's spine. He felt the presence watching him, not from the room, but from the pages themselves. The next chapter unfolded before him, an account of a city lost in time, swallowed by its own secrets. Buildings disappeared beneath layers of dust and ash, streets empty except for whispers of those who vanished without a trace. The names of the lost were etched into the margins, scrawled in trembling handwriting. Ethan's fingers traced over one name, Marion. Suddenly, the room tilted. A wind unlike any natural breeze swept through the air, carrying a faint scent of smoke and damp earth. The whispers turned to murmurs and soft and indistinct. They grew louder until Ethan could make out a voice. Female. Desperate. Pleading. "Help me." Ethan's breath caught. He shut the book abruptly. The room was silent again, but the air remained thick with a tension he could not shake. Was it a trick of his mind, or was something truly reaching out? Unable to resist, he opened the book once more. This time, the page revealed a faded photograph. An old train station platform, deserted and crumbling. In the background, barely visible, a ghostly figure stood watching. The figure's eyes glinted with a sorrow that felt painfully familiar. As Ethan stared, the figure seemed to step forward, stepping out from the photograph into his world, a thin veil of mist enveloping the room. The shadows deepened, pressing against the walls like living things. His heartbeat thundered in his ears. He knew what was coming. This was no ordinary book. It was a doorway, a crossing point between his reality and something beyond. Suddenly, the book slipped from his hands, pages fluttering wildly, like wings desperate to escape. Ethan lunged to catch it, but the moment his fingers touched the paper, he was pulled into the story. He found himself standing on the abandoned platform. The air was cold and thick with fog. The distant sound of a train whistle echoed, haunting and sorrowful. Ahead, the tracks stretched into darkness. Ethan's heart pounded as the phantom train appeared, a massive, black engine, steam hissing like a living creature. Doors slid open, revealing empty seats that seemed to wait just for him. Without thinking, he stepped aboard. The door slammed shut behind him with a deafening clang. Inside, the carriage was filled with shadows and echoes, fragments of forgotten lives trapped between moments. A voice called out from the darkness, "Welcome, Ethan. You've entered the pages of your own story." He turned to see a man in tattered clothes, eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "Who are you?" Ethan asked. "I am the keeper of forgotten truths. Those who read this book become part of its endless tale." Ethan's mind raced. Was this a curse, or a chance to understand? The train began to move, faster and faster, carrying him deeper into a world between worlds. Outside the windows, scenes flickered, memories of lives erased, moments lost to time. Ethan reached out, trying to touch the images, but they vanished like smoke. The keeper spoke again. "You seek answers, but some truths are never meant to be uncovered." Suddenly, the carriage shifted. The walls shimmered and changed. Ethan found himself facing a mirror, a reflection but not of himself. The mirror showed a version of Ethan trapped in darkness, reaching out, screaming silently. A cold dread gripped him. "Who is that?" Ethan whispered. "The shadow you fear. The part of you lost in forgotten pages." The train slowed as it approached a station that did not exist on any map. The doors opened onto a realm where time and space twisted, where reality dissolved. Ethan realized this was a place where the impossible became real. He had to find a way back before he became another lost truth and he'd forgotten forever. The phantom train's whistle echoed once more as the carriage filled with a ghostly fog. Ethan gripped the book tightly, knowing his journey had only just begun. Ethan's breath came in ragged gasps as the phantom train rumbled through the shifting darkness. The carriage walls bent and melted like wax, revealing endless corridors lined with books, thousands, maybe millions of them, each one a forgotten truth, a lost story, a secret erased from memory. The air was heavy with the scent of old paper and something darker, fear, regret, and unfinished business. The keeper of forgotten truths stood beside Ethan, calm and silent as the train raced toward an unknown destination. His eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the flickering light of a distant flame that seemed to burn within the book's pages. You have traveled far, Ethan, the keeper said softly. But now comes the hardest part. To escape this endless story, you must rewrite your fate. Ethan swallowed, feeling the weight of those words. He had always believed that stories were fixed, that once written, they became eternal. But this book, this dark tome, was different. It was alive. It consumed the past and rewrote the present. And now, it demanded a price. How? Ethan asked. Voiced barely a whisper, the keeper gestured toward a table that had materialized in the center of the carriage. On it lay a blank page, glowing faintly with an unearthly light, and an ancient pen resting beside it. This page can change everything, the keeper explained. Write your truth. Write your escape. But be warned. The words you choose will shape not only your fate, but the fate of all forgotten souls trapped within these pages. Ethan hesitated. His mind raced through the memories of everything he had seen. The lost city, the ghostly faces in the photographs, the shadow in the mirror, the endless corridors of stories waiting to be told or forgotten. Could he change any of it? Could he rewrite the nightmare he had stumbled into? The train jolted, throwing Ethan's thoughts into chaos. Outside, the world twisted and fractured, a kaleidoscope of lost moments and broken timelines. He picked up the pen, its surface cold and smooth against his fingers. The blank page shimmered, as if alive, waiting for his command. Ethan closed his eyes, taking a deep breath. He thought of everything he wanted to say, everything he needed to believe. With trembling hands, he began to write. I am Ethan. I am not just a reader of forgotten truths. I am the author of my own story. I choose to remember, to face the shadows, to reclaim the lost. The ink glowed brightly, spreading across the page like wildfire. The carriage shook violently, and the shadows screamed, but Ethan's voice remained steady in his mind. I refuse to be trapped. I refuse to be forgotten. I rewrite the past, the present, and the future for myself and for all those lost within these pages. As the last word was written, a burst of light exploded from the page, filling the carriage with warmth and clarity. The phantom train screeched to a halt, the doors sliding open onto a bright, endless horizon. Ethan stepped out cautiously, feeling the sun's warmth on his skin, a sensation he had not felt in what felt like an eternity. The lost souls began to emerge from the books, faces once trapped in shadows, now free and smiling, fading into the light as if waking from a long sleep. The keeper approached Ethan, a rare smile crossing his face. You have done what few can, he said. You have rewritten the impossible. Ethan nodded, feeling the truth of those words deep within him. But the journey was not over. The book was still in his hand, its pages now blank, waiting for new stories to be written. He closed it gently, feeling the weight lift from his shoulders. As he walked away from the train and the endless library, Ethan knew one thing for certain. Some truths are forgotten for a reason, but the power to remember, to change, and to move forward, that was the true magic hidden in the pages of the impossible. The sun rose over the city, shining on a world full of stories yet to be told. Ethan was ready to live his own, free from the shadows of forgotten truths, and forever the author of his own fate. And to this day, no one knows who or what was behind that final knock. Maybe it was just the wind, or maybe something else found its way inside. If stories like this keep your eyes tracing the shadows, you're not alone. Hit the like button before the darkness returns. Subscribe and we'll keep the stories coming. Real horrors that wait until you're half asleep, and then whisper your name. This is American Pulse and Paranormal. Sleep well, if it lets you.